Man, I am so proud and honored to bring you this video today. I hope you've seen the video. It's going viral. Huge news coming out. I'm coming for you, Donald J. Trump says. Outlays almost a 10-point plan. 3-minute chilling video to those on the receiving end. One that you've been waiting to hear. Charlie Kirk posting on this video. President Trump released his plan to dismantle the establishment. Now that he's president-elect, this is the most important 3-minute video on the internet right now, and it is. There's one right behind it that I believe is equally as important. It's the story I'm going to bring you here in just 1 minute. I want to thank you for allowing me to fill in for Lisa today. If you haven't subscribed to her channel, please make sure you are. Make sure your bell is checked. And again, stop everything you're doing. Just look down. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you're not, I'm talking to you. Subscribe to her. She'll put a link to my channel above. You never know where we'll both appear, but you do know one place will always be the platform we created. We're not beholden to anyone. No sponsors, no advertisers, no one else's video platform but our own that we own through our own blood, sweat, and tears. I'm telling you, it was an effort to get it up and running so many years ago. You could thank COVID for that. Because there was so much we wanted to talk about, and there was only one platform we could bring it to you, and that is RestrictedRepublic.com. Get there today. Use discount code INDEPENDENCE, $4 a month for 2 years, plus 14 days for free. Cancel anytime. You have a dashboard to do so, because we are so confident once you're there, the last thing you'll look for is the cancel button. That platform's continued to grow. Get there today. Find out why the exclusive content, the featured content has grown. It's going to take you months to even get through. And it's everything you've been looking for, and we worked hard to get it to you. So if you want to support us, get there today. Go ahead again. Discount code Independence, monthly checkup. And now let's get back to this broadcast. So we're going to start here before we get to the message. This is what an electoral landslide looks like and the consequences for the Democrats, because he now has a mandate for change, a mandate of which I will demand he does change things. None of us can stop pushing. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the House hasn't officially been decided. The Senate obviously is, and the presidential race obviously is. A mandate, that's speaking the very least of it. Arizona still hanging in the balance. My home state, what an absolute embarrassment. I am out of my mind, insanely angry about what Arizona and the election commission is doing here. But that aside, Trump looks like he's going to get 312 electoral votes, a mandate that would be an understatement. Senate, we have some business to take care of. Specific business that Donald J. Trump specifically addresses. There is no gray area in this, and there can't be any gray area, especially when it comes to two agencies, communities, the intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. A complete overhaul is needed if he is ever going to be successful. Jack Smith will be contended with, even though he's dropping cases, and I guarantee you he will be long gone before Donald Trump ever is sworn in. We have multiple commissions that are going to be formed. Here's what a government efficiency commission should look like, and we can go through that, but it's not as important as Trump's message. Trump's election could assure a conservative Supreme Court majority. Now, this is more important than something I don't want anyone to forget about. Donald J. Trump has already appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. In his second term, he could well have a chance to name 2 or even 3. Creating a high court with a Trump-appointed majority that could serve for decades, and it is exactly what we need. I always want a conservative court. A liberal court is extremely dangerous to this great republic of the United States of America. Don't ever forget how important that is. And it puts Trump in even greater danger, because if there is one thing they've wanted to figure out and control, it's the Supreme Court. It looks like that is no longer a possibility, at least for about 4.5 more years. But outside the Supreme Court, the progressive experiment has failed. We the people have given Trump a mandate for change. No one wants to see this anymore. And the popular vote told you that. So much so, even the likes of CNN exuberantly declaring the facts that no one could forget about this election.
Trump's was the best GOP showing among 18 to 29-year-olds in 20 years. You have to go all the way back to 2004. How about among black voters? It was the best performance for a Republican candidate for president in 48 years since Gerald Ford back in 1976. And among Hispanic voters, the exit polls only go back since 1972. But Donald Trump's performance on Tuesday was the best for a Republican presidential candidate in exit poll history. He literally goes all the way back through history and breaks history. This is what we're talking about, Kate Baldwin.
I told you, exuberant. You can't hide this anymore. It's just too big. The disparity is too large, and that becomes critically important with what Trump wants to initiate. And he has the Electoral College landslide to do so. So we hear so much about Project 2025, the misinformation campaign itself, but if they just did some simple research, they realize that Trump has always had a plan. He has it in detail. He has his Agenda 47, plain and simple, but let's not look at those plans. No, of course not. We don't want facts. We just want sound bites, talking points, photo ops. But Trump doesn't. He's been very clear and very concise in his plan. One that has now gone viral. Now you'll see many headlines. And I've looked at the comments. This is amazing. He's hit the ground running. He's always had the plan. But people won't jump in and just listen to the plans. They've been there. And I'm going to present you the single most important one. Again, Charlie Kirk, President Trump released his plan to dismantle the deep state. Now he's president-elect. This is the most important 3-minute videos on the internet right now. Now the headlines: Trump releases plan to dismantle the American deep state, November 8th. Donald Trump's 10-point plan to dismantle the deep state, November 8th. Trump releases plan to dismantle the American deep state, November 8th. Everybody's like, this is brand new, folks. It's been out there. It's been out there. March 21st of 2023. But now it goes viral. Because again, things lag behind where the truth actually is. Because people have been misled for so long. They rely on mainstream media still, which boggles my mind. The information's always there. It's what we do for a living, of course. It's why you're here, because we bring it to you. Now, due to the restrictions of the internet, which Trump is going to contend with in video number 2, thankfully, there are things we have to abide by here. So I will break into this video occasionally and discuss it. And there is a reason I do that. It drives some people insane. Why do you interrupt? Because it's the rules. You can't just play something at an extended length and represent it as your own. No, if you don't add context to it, it is a violation of policy. That's why we do it. I figure I explain it first. Before we get into this video, I'll talk in between. We're going to break this into just 3 segments because that's really all it takes. It's going to take Trump a lot more to, as he states here, dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy. And now knowing he has a mandate for change, he controls the popular vote. He can now execute on this policy. He's coming for many, many people. And he tells you specifically who they are.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemy. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart. We will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them.
Could you imagine when this is implemented? He's got to reissue his executive order to fire rogue bureaucrats, and hallelujah to that. Overhaul the federal departments. We've heard about that with RFK. We've heard about that with Trump. And now we hear, at least we heard, that he'll be firing corrupt actors in the national security and intelligence apparatus. I've told you time and time again, unless that happens, he will have no success. The FISA courts, of course, he's got a personal axe to grind there now, doesn't he? They spied on his campaign, and he has not forgotten that. He's coming for him. Establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, he goes in, to declassify all and publish all documents on spying, censorship, and abuses of power. We have fought this for years. And finally, and he better live up to his word, because you see, Republicans are different than Democrats. Democrats look at their people as demigods. Oh, not us Republicans. We like you, we'll vote you in, and then we will hold you to task to get the job done. You will be judged by your actions, not by your persona. If there is not action, the Republicans will be in a world of hurt next election cycle, won't they? But let's let Trump continue.
Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign.
I told you, that axe was there to grind. Make every Inspector General's office independent from the departments they oversee. That is such a simple maneuver, and it needed to be done. You can't have the foxes guarding the henhouse ever. An independent auditing system to make sure once he trims down the intelligence agencies, they can't regrow and continue to spy on Americans, spy on his campaign, spy on those they disagree with. Remove the leakers from government. In other words, those who are giving many of the mainstream headlines, New York Times, Washington Post, like the New York Times, like the Washington Post. Who's giving them all these headlines? Who's giving them all this inside knowledge? How are they getting it, leaking it out, and affecting outcomes? Well, he's going to call for an end to that, and rightfully so. He's got 3 more points. These are all more monumental than the last.
We will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, people read number 8 and they're like, well, why, drain this, I get the swamp thing, but move all those jobs out of the hub of Washington, D.C.? Well, that's the bed of corruption. It's the bed of Washington insiders. Get it to the states where the true patriots reside. That is a monster initiative. Ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and regulate. How simple is that? Who is that directed at? That is directed at Big Pharma, among many, many others. We have to get this big money out of Washington, the special interest, and how can you possibly regulate someone you profit from or work with? And push for a constitutional amendment for term limits. I've talked about this forever. We need people who represent we the people. Washington insiders become insiders because they live in Washington for so long and they lose touch with who their base is. Without term limits, that can never change. You'll continue to have establishment characters running everything. This video's blown up, and rightfully so, because he's already outlaid his plan, but he did more than that. He did more than that in this. President Donald J. Trump's free speech policy initiative. I'm not going to play the speech for you. I'm just going to read the highlights. First, within hours, and this changes our lives dramatically. What we have to do to fight the arms of censorship is a never-ending job. It is exhausting. It is tiring. You are walking through a landmine field every day we hit the airwaves. We don't talk about it much because honestly, it doesn't need to be your problem. It's something we have to deal with. And Trump finally, hopefully, will help. Within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, impede the lawful speech of American citizens. And I will ban federal money from being able to use domestic speech, labeled domestic speech, as mis or disinformation, and everything begins to change at that moment because you will finally start hearing the truth. For those, not you, because you get it, because you know where to go. You know to follow us at Restricted Republic. You know you can get it, but how many millions of Americans don't? They rely on mainstream media and Wikipedia fact checks, Facebook fact checks. How many of you lost your Facebook page? I'll order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in a new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible because you are never told the truth. Ever. And he will reform Section 230. They offered the entities, the large Facebooks of the world, a protection. You are not liable for what is published on your platform in order to promote free speech. However, when they censor, they are in violation of Section 230 and no longer should enjoy those protections, which allowed them to grow because they could post anything, because it fell back on the author of the post, which it should. I'm not looking for an umbrella of coverage from Facebook or Google or anyone. I don't need it. I will be responsible for myself. I don't want them ever responsible for me or for Lisa or for our message. And Section 230 allowed them to become the monsters that they are, and they abused the power and privilege. And so you were never given the truth. We need to break up on number 4. The entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tracking so-called mis and disinformation. Hallelujah and amen, because it's been used by the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the DNI, the DHS. We can continue to go through the letter agencies as a way to track, catalog, suppress, and shut down. Because that's right, not everything, just anything that was contrary to their agenda. That's why it makes my skin crawl every time they call this incoming administration the fascist. Not at all. Not even close. They have been the fascist since the beginning, and it's about time it gets broken up. 5th, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests to the FBI, who simply calls up and says, hey guys, shut that down for us. Yeah, great, thanks, appreciate it. Hey, Johnny, I need another one. This message is getting a lot of traction. The American people might realize the truth. So you might just suppressing and shutting that down for me. Great, perfect. Where's the court order? I don't need one. Give me a frickin' break. That's the way it works, folks. And this is what he's already announced. And people are acting like it's new news, and that's fine. I'm glad they're calling attention to it. That's fine. But I want to be accurate with you. I want to let you know when this information was out, because Donald J. Trump has had this information out. Just nobody focuses on the facts. They focus on mainstream media talking points. Can tell it drives me crazy? He's had the plan. The free speech restoration plan, the censorship removal plan, and the removal of the establishment. This is why they didn't want him back in. Mike Sperrazza says on X, justice will finally be served. He just put them all on notice. They've been on notice. Why do you think they fought so hard to make sure he didn't regain the presidency? Because they did read his plan. They do know what's coming. And I invite you, just go to donaldjtrump.com. Watch the videos. Watch the plans. They're all there. It's called Agenda 47, video by video. War on cartels. Ending veteran homelessness, no welfare for illegal aliens, the American Academy, to the auto workers, pledges to homeschool families. Everything you need to know about the man is there. He's the only one who put out any policy from the beginning, and the American people have now spoken. And one of the most important out of all these messages I just reviewed for you. And it's gone viral, and rightfully so. Lisa and I wanted to make sure you had it in the context to when he presented it, because that becomes really important. Because his policy and agenda has always been out there. He hid from nothing. He never has. And what have they called him, and what have they done to him? And now he has a mandate for change. He has a plan to enact. The very plan that we voted him in for. And Mr. Trump, please initiate the plan. Because we need our country back. We need this great republic of the United States of America. One nation under God. And he's on your side now. You finally said it yourself. The ultimate cabinet official. You're bringing our country back to what it was meant to be. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I love you all. Until next time. Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.